Tuesday, the 16th. Yes, the 16th of January, 2024. And before I get into Disease X, I wanted to go through my social media. Again, I'm Dawn Dussault, Dussault, on social media platforms. Some social media platforms, I'm DAWNNE. Other platforms, I'm DAWN, but you have to write it out in full. And the reasoning behind that is because I've had multiple accounts deleted on me. And also like from the ages of 1 to 17, or I guess not 1, whenever I was able to write, still very young. I was taught that my name was DAWNNE. And so there was 2 different certificates, like a hospital certificate, and then you have your birth, your baptism record. And in Quebec, when I was born, like that was considered to be less of an official government document, less than an official document than the birth hospital one, which is annoying. But anyway, it is what it is. And so it was only after I got all my paperwork together that I had to get myself in order to apply to RMC. And in the military, I had to get documentation, and that's when I found out. Anyway, and then went from there, started spelling my name DAWN. Just a fun fact as to why I do that. I did share yesterday about the underground tunneling systems within New York City. There's tunnels all over the world, and in North America, obviously as well. I've been talking about this for years. I've shared the footage, like even within Ottawa, where I'm located right now in Canada. There's underground tunneling systems here, and a point that a lot of people are making about the underground tunneling systems, where there's possibly human trafficking, including child trafficking, involved in the tunneling systems by certain groups of people that are of a certain religion. And again, this is not I'm not trying to cause division here. The reason why I share this information to people is because there's so much division intentionally brought upon us by people that are doing it because there's money and ego and power and prestige and blackmail and bribery that's involved with it. But the point was made that there's IDF soldiers in Israel and other people that are assisting them within Israel that are bombing Palestinians, calling them Hamas again, and it's so frustrating that there's even people like that are part of Rebel News that are so biased, and they refuse to say Palestinians. They refuse to use the word Palestinians, and it's disgusting to me. They'll say Israelis against Palestinians. Sorry, they'll say it's always Israel against Hamas. It's always Israel against Hamas. It's always everyone against Hamas, and it's not the reality at all. And it's so ignorant, right? And especially since there's over 20,000 deaths now, murders, okay, crimes against humanity being committed in Gaza and West Bank against Palestinians, but also against children. And I was even mentioning this yesterday, but they're like the words that people are using, like calling a 3-year-old little girl, calling her a young lady, and then calling IDF female soldiers who are grown-ass adults, calling them young girls, is just showing you why people are getting upset about this stuff, right? And I'll repeat this. I was 15 years as an infantry officer. I've deployed to Afghanistan, as part of a battle group, and I certified in rules of engagement, law of armed conflict, so many other things that you have to be certified in, especially as an officer before you deploy, and all the clearing drills that I've done in urban operations, all of that stuff, training and otherwise. Even underground tunneling systems, you don't blow the shit out of the environment above ground, okay, to get to the people underneath. All right, so you'll notice that even law enforcement, they're not even trained soldiers. New York Police Department, these guys are going in the tunnels and getting these guys and arresting them and stuff like that. And is that happening in Israel right now? No, that's not. And I'll repeat, there's a lot of lies about beheadings and rapes and torture and stuff like that people are lying about, and that even Israel people there have even confirmed, the government, the official government people have confirmed that it was incorrect, and they've walked back a lot of stuff that they've said. And if you look at my Rumble videos, Don189, if you're on X or on YouTube watching this, I was calling this out from the beginning, all the lies. And so take a look at my previous videos from October on. And the reason why I have my a photo from a whiteboard that I created 2.5 years ago is because I was calling this shit out. Now I call it out for years. It's unfortunate, and it causes me immense sadness and stress when I see that people are getting duped even repeatedly, over so many other false flags, and we're still falling for it. And that's why today it's going to be about Disease X, but this is all related. Yeah, I shared a video of Fauci eating his boogers, by the way. This guy's fucking weird. Oh! Also shared some SAT-X police helping facilitate human smuggling at the Migrant Resource Center in San Antonio, Texas. The officers were wearing their official SAPD, so I'm assuming it's San Antonio Police Department uniforms, driving work vehicles, and holstering their service weapons while accepting money from alleged cartel-sponsored NGOs, non-government organizations, what that acronym is, to guard the facility and check illegal migrants' wristbands upon entry. I attempted to reach out to SAT-X police for comment on the situation and received no response. And this is from the typical liberal. I believe this.
You gotta give me a trespass right now.
Charlie Kirkland or something like that. I think that might be the guy that's reporting this, Charlie Kirkland or something like that. Anyway, I shared it on my social media, so take a look at this. And again, this is just more disheartening information because there's a lot of amazing law enforcement officers out there that I know personally as well, and or former. And actually, on that note, since I'm sharing a lot of information now with even with David Menzies from Rebel News, even though I don't appreciate a lot of the stuff that they share via news, they're still more accurate on their news reporting than all the mainstream media within Canada, unfortunately. It is what it is. But Chris Mandigma, I'll call him out. He's the owner of Pikiti Tursa and Tursa Tactical, and he is someone that is former RCMP, law enforcement, and he has worked with for years now all levels of government, the higher levels. I'm talking about law enforcement, the emergency response and stuff like that. I have as well, but like military, all levels of government, at all over the world too. And he's the one that certified me in use of force. And so, and the reason why I sought him out was because he was well renowned in the security industry and beyond for being the best of the best. And so, take a look at his stuff, take a look at his work. Even if you're international, I highly recommend and encourage that you take a look at this guy and take some of his courses, because he doesn't just do use of force at all. That's just a small part of what he does, and he does the practical applications and scenarios in this training as well. But he also does CQB and edged weapon training, pressure point tactics, all you name it. It's great work, and so check him out. And so that's a good cop. But there's cops in the Ottawa area as well that are arresting people discriminately, very much discriminately, and it's just it's frustrating. And this is from. Hey, it's not sharing. King Bao. Anyway, even though it's not sharing, I did send it to one person just to make sure that I had a copy or a link.
Carlson appearance makes claims that there's evidence to show that 17 million.
Okay, so this is regarding Disease X. Now, I don't agree with everything King Bao says about the virus, but a large majority of what he says is actually accurate. And I will say that I've been on the record for years saying that this was even before the vaccine rolled out. I was saying there was going to be anticipated between 15 and 21 million people died because of this, because of the vaccine specifically. And it turns out I didn't want to be right. And I was crying about it all the time. This is why for years, every single day, I was sharing the scientific and medical data that I was even breaking down the science myself. And to talk about the stats. 71%. I shared all of this stuff for years. So again, I'm sorry for anyone that's been watching my stuff. This is so redundant to you, but we need to keep on talking about this, because now they're talking about Disease X, and they were talking about SPARS 2025, 2027 now for even before COVID pandemic was implemented. But anyways, I digress. I'll get to King Bao. This is what his name is. I don't know his real name.
Makes claims that there's evidence to show that 17 million people worldwide have died in relation to the you-know-what.
Brett Weinstein has told Tucker that an alarming number of people may have died as a result of the COVID vaccine.
I saw a credible estimate of something like 17 million deaths globally from this technology. So
17 million deaths from the COVID vaccine? Those figures line up with what Steve Kirsch said when he was on our show pertaining to the New Zealand data breach, which obviously the legacy media are not reporting on. And as a side note, Tucker's done his hair slightly differently.
Well, when you scale up to billions, it's not hard to reach a number like that with a technology this dangerous.
And when I read through the patents for the mRNA technology vaccines, I was very shocked because they did not read it as a vaccine. They read it as a bioweapon.
Who masters those technologies will be the
So people
master.
often ask me, so do you think COVID-19 never happened? And COVID-19 absolutely did happen. There was a pandemic, but what caused COVID-19 was not a virus. What it was this lipid nanoparticle technology.
It was a leaked virus
that
too.
basically hijacks the human immune system as
Gain
well
of function.
as our neurological system, causing mild to moderate disease or severe disease. So what they were calling spike proteins were actually lipid nanoparticles. Those were LNPs. When you take a magnetic hydrogel, which is also in the patents, and you infect a biological cell, you can see that cell is covered with all of these little spikes. That's the spike protein. You're not infected with a virus. You're infected with lipid nanoparticles.
That depends on the
technology that
ingredients of the
programs that
vaccine, like I've
cell
shared.
to then give off these biosynthetic toxins in your body. That's what caused COVID-19.
And now the spike protein may be replacing sperm.
Actually, we could confirm that the spike protein is produced in the deltoid muscles where the vaccine is administered, injected. But we could show it in almost all organs, more or less explicitly. And here you see a case where we show the testis, and you can see that in this 28-year-old man who had a healthy son and who died 140 days after injection, the spike protein is strongly expressed in the spermatogenic organ in the testis, and you can see there are almost no spermatocytes in here, but strongly expression of spike protein in the spermatogenic tissue. So also in elder persons, this is an old man, and you can see here's also a strong expression in the spermatogonia. There's not one single spermatozoa in this, and a strong expression of the spike protein. So if I may make a personal comment, this is not a scientific comment. If I were a woman in fertile age, I would not plan a motherhood from a man who has been vaccinated, unless I think these pictures are very disturbing.
I've been telling you all for a while now that I believe that the universe is mental. If you didn't know this was possible, I'd like to show you the power of your mind. Consider that we live in a matrix. Now imagine your brain being a computing component of that matrix, meaning you live within the matrix, but the matrix responds to you. Now obviously you've had thoughts, so let's use thoughts as the example. Have you ever thought something, then you were able to manifest it in this reality? Whether that was a glass of water or something that you wanted? The answer would probably be yes. And much scientific evidence is being disclosed, legitimizing that claim.
You can give someone a sugar pill and tell them that it's a certain drug, and when they take the drug, they get the side effects of that drug, because some people anticipate a good outcome, consciously or subconsciously, and some people consciously or unconsciously expect a bad outcome. So when they expect that bad outcome, they begin to manufacture the very symptoms of their own belief. When I wrote Placebo, I thought something really simple. If I understood the science behind how the placebo works, and there is a science behind it, people make their own dopamine by thought alone, their own antidepressants, their own morphines, and all these placebo studies. Once people understand the principles of it, can you teach them how to do the same exact thing? In other words, instead of relying on some external substance, like a pill that has no efficacy, no drug in it, that pill represents a symbol of possibility. Can you teach a person how to, instead of put their belief in something known, put their belief in an unknown, and begin to change their biology every single day so that unknown becomes a known? And it turns out it's absolutely teachable. Well, Beecher was one of the first people in the Western world to show that people can begin to manufacture their own morphine by thought alone. And Beecher was a physician in World War II that was on the front lines, and he ran out of morphine to do his surgical procedures. So between him and a few nurses, they conjured up a way to give the soldiers an injection of saline. It was nothing more than salt. And when they made it more of a ritual, where they told them that we have the drugs, here's who's going to help you, and they gave them the suggestion that they were going to get the real substance, Beecher was able to perform all of his surgeries without any morphine, and the soldiers reported very little pain during the process. So that sounds mysterious. It sounds like it's impossible, but it's in fact the truth.
And for a while, I've been saying that I believe that COVID is a psyop.
Not entirely wrong. Definitely.
COVID is a psyop. The 5D is synchronized with mind thoughts. Instant manifestations. What you think you will come. Most of our been started healthy, and now that's why they're done. You believe in sickness. I believe with gods. I think we're divine. You think I lies. You believe a virus start to take over the earth. I believe global consciousness don't show you the worth. We are not the same, even though you're my reflection of when I once thought that I wasn't perfection. Now a blessing, cause perspectives all makes up this life. If you become what you think, what you are is your light. Light's all the experience, so how do you shine? Darkness is a form of light that most see when they're blind. It's all what you choose, so what is your choice? They might make you wear a mask, but can't take away your voice. To rule people's minds by fear, because fear is the ultimate control mechanism. Two of my favorite books of all time, Emil Kuhl, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, detail with examples how our beliefs solidify our reality. And if you believe that you'll be sick or that you will die, you will. So if that's the case, could COVID all be a psyop of the mind? And would that make sense as to why they distract us through things like the media from said information?
Dennis Rancourt has a PhD in physics. He is a former tenured full professor and has published over 100 articles in leading science journals. Rancourt and his team have used all-cause mortality data to prove there have been about 17 million deaths as a result of official COVID-19 measures, but not from COVID, which was a lie.
As far as I can tell from all-cause mortality data that we've been studying extensively for a long time, there's no such thing as a viral respiratory pandemic.
He explains all this in his essay entitled, There Was No Pandemic, which you can find on his Substack.
There was no pandemic, in the sense that there was not a particularly virulent new pathogen that was spreading and causing death. That is not what happened. What happened was huge assaults against vulnerable people by many different methods. And every time you did that, you caused excess mortality. In all the countries where they were not doing that, there was absolutely no excess mortality, even if it was a jurisdiction that was right beside the one that was doing this.
Rancourt explains a science of psychological murder that has been officially studied and documented for well over a century. It wasn't just the spike protein that killed us. It was the whole damn thing.
Psychological stress and social isolation are dominant determinants of an individual's health. That causes a suppression of your immune system, and you're going to get some kind of infection, cancer, heart disease, and very often the lungs are very exposed to the environments and they're subjected to all the bacteria that you live with all the time. You get bacterial pneumonia. And it's a huge killer when a society is stressed, meaning all of its individuals are stressed. The kind of psychological stress that kills you is when your entire world is turned upside down. Your whole life you thought you had a place in the world, and it's gone. That will kill you within a very short time. We always occupy a dominance hierarchy, a social dominance hierarchy. That is how we organize our societies. Because we are social animals, it is a fundamental truth of how we organize societies. The stress that is intended to keep you in your place within that dominance hierarchy is an everyday chronic stress. And the stressors have to keep changing how they're going to stress you because you get habituated to the stress. So they have to randomly hit you with hard things every once in a while to really make sure you understand what your place is. That stress is one of the biggest determinants of health. But we have to admit that medicine itself is a massive killer. It's a massive cause of premature death of individuals.
Modern Western medicine is officially recognized as the third highest cause of death. It was designed to be a way of controlling the population.
The role of medicine as an institution in our society is to maintain the dominance hierarchy, is to keep people sick and to put them in their place. It's just part of that institutionally.
Financed by the Carnegie Foundation and published in 1910, the Flexner Report was used to outlaw natural medicine practices in America. The Rockefeller Foundation then funded a new kind of medicine, an inverted form of healthcare that utilized petrochemical drugs and experimental surgery to keep people sick and, in many cases, kill the patient. As Dennis Rancourt has pointed out, this is how societies have been run for centuries. A declassified document entitled Geomagnetic Factors in Spontaneous, Subjective, Telepathic, Precognitive, and Postmortem Experiences, as well as decades of trauma-based mind control research, shows us that the CIA and our governments are well aware of the deadly effects that traumatizing a population can induce. They are killing us with fear and trauma. This is known as psychogenic death or psychosomatic death. It is the phenomenon of sudden death brought about by strong emotional shock. Chairman of the Department of Physiology at Harvard Medical School, Walter Cannon, called it voodoo death because mind control is the main method used in voodoo rituals.
It appears that the vaccines cause inflammation. And for the past 8 years, I've been trying to tell people about an all-natural anti-inflammatory that lowers the inflammatory markers in a human at a cellular level by 47% in 90 minutes. All from my company, Aloveo.
I'll fight to eradicate childhood malnutrition from the planet. That's what.
So that was a lengthy one. I really did enjoy that one. There's a lot of good information in there. And you can check out the Flexner Report yourself. And it's not just the US. So it took me again, because I'm a friggin' amazing, amazing, and modest. No, just kidding. It took me less than 30 seconds to find this, but medical education in the United States and Canada. And so we are a lot more connected than people understand. The Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching by Abraham Flexner, with an introduction by Henry S. Pritchett, president of the foundation. There's so much I could talk about too with the, but like look at my, look at Fluvid-19, and there's so much information in there. I think it's over 2 hours, but it's people really need to build our attention spans back, because like now with Twitter, this is Yuval Harari. He and his husband are awful human beings, and they're not as academic and educated and intellectual as people think. I've read his books. They're garbage. They don't make any sense. There's a lot of scientific jargon in it to make them sound smart, but like sounding smart and trying to confuse and complicate the world is not smart. It's like when you can break down and educate or teach, like the not only the common denominator, the majority, but also like where you can simplify even like the most complex of studies to even like a child, right? And so, what does he have to?
The rest of this.
He wrote Homo Deus and Sapiens, and this guy has zero connection to spirituality. He's an atheist. Yeah, like he just hates people. Like he hates humans, and I would too if I looked like that. I'm just kidding. Like the epigenetics, like I share this as well. Like epigenetics is a real thing, right? Like fluoride. It's in your like city water, suburb water. Now you have to filter your water. Don't like bottled water is not the answer, because there's a lot of like nanoparticles and microplastics within that are not good for you. Chemicals and toxins within like these water bottles. So filtering your water, using glass and or like a reusable, like non-BPA, whatever you want to call it, like water bottle, like reusing would be good. But again, copper, ceramic and or glass utensils and like eating friggin' like and drinking devices would be preferred. And I'm going on these tangents. Anyway, let him talk.
And he says it.
Oh, and your doctors, right? When you do teeth cleaning, a lot of people don't know this. They don't tell you like, okay, so there's going to be a charge for polishing. There's going to be a charge for the cleaning. There's going to be a charge for the fluoride. They're charging you for fluoride, and they're not even putting that. They're not even breaking that down in the bill, or to you, or if it's going to your insurance company, you're most certainly not seeing it. But you need to, like, if you want to, I'm highly recommending this. Like, say, like, pass on the fluoride, pass on it. And I've also shared information where, like, it shows where when fluoride is injected, even a small bit, to like different microorganisms, living organisms, like even E. coli, for example, was used in these tests. It didn't take long before they were not able to they died like these in a very short period of time, and or became destabilized and weren't able to like reproduce and stuff like that. And so we really need to take a look at that. And there are people, again, like either they're unaware, blissfully ignorant, or they're getting way too much money to even want to touch the subject. You need to tell your doctors it's a neurotoxin and I don't want to take it, right? And so that's all I say. I don't protest this in front of their friggin' building, or anything like that, and tell people like, don't take fluoride, blah, blah, blah. But, I will let them be aware that I know, okay? And they know that I know, and it is what it is. But
Openly. Now, again, it should be clear that many of these politicians, they present a false dichotomy, a false binary vision of the world, as if you have to choose between patriotism and globalism, between being loyal to your nation and being loyal to some kind of, I don't know, global government or whatever.
Those of you that are Christians, those of you that are Jewish, those of you that are Muslim, those of you that are material atheists or Hindus or Jain or Buddhist or whatever ideological perspective you come at the world from, surely we can see in the vast expanse of the infinite, we have a collective and shared interest together. But surely as you recognize the sanctity of the individual experience, the subjective experience of being the occupant of a soul, inhabiting the vehicle of a body, you recognize that the sovereignty of the individual is paramount, and that if you have a decentralized but unified opposition to globalism, that will be the maximization of freedom rather than the minimization of freedom that seems to be an important part of the agenda of those that frame their views at Davos, those that use the WEF as a mouthpiece and platform for, I would say, increasing globalist authoritarianism. These are the people that we have to oppose. Your individual religious beliefs or lack of religious beliefs, to me, are not important. But your individual sovereignty, absolutely vital. Yes, we cannot allow ourselves to be divided and conquered. That is right. I agree with you in that chat. Yeah, we can't be loyal to a faceless government being boinkster, can we? CETFness, I agree with you, Russell. Yeah, thanks, guys. Let's have a look at this lovely moment. This is from Davos this year. Rebel News, who don't mind getting up in the grill of the corporate types. You may maybe remember that famous viral clip last year.
See, even Rebel News gets a shout out by friggin' Russell Brand. And the reason why I'm like, I'm frustrated by this, I'm happy, but they're not correct with a lot of things, especially the reporting of Palestine and Israel. And Russell Brand, like, why the fudge are you not inviting me on your show yet? Like, I oh my God,
But they were following Albert Baller around going, is it that Australian dude who's, I think he called Avi, going, hey, listen, mate, what's going on? Like really agging out Albert Baller. And Albert, no, this is not how Albert likes to do business. I like to do interviews with people that say I'm the moon shooter. I am the Buzz Aldrin of vaccination. This year, they're outside BlackRock, the as you know,
yeah, he is a Buzz Aldrin
conglomerate investment firm headed up by Larry Fink, that many of you, including the likes of Bobby Kennedy, believe to be the sort of financial interest that dominates, subverts, and represses the kind of democracies that your founding fathers intended for you, or republics. I don't care which words you use.
Republics. I think I was going to talk about Disease X as well. That's. Is he going to talk about Disease X? Oh, yes, there's Dr. John Campbell.
Oh, come on, let me lead the response. Albert Baller, Bill Gates, or
Oh,
So who do you
and
trust?
Albert Bourla is a veterinarian and also the like the head of Pfizer and like WEF and all this other stuff. But like he's lied repeatedly. Like, even I think it was like November of 2021. Like I retweeted this like his tweet, but like his lies about like how the COVID-19 vaccine was 100% effective and 100% prevented like the spread of the virus and all this stuff. When it's like, are you fucking bullshit? Because even February of 2021, Pfizer, they released their VAERS that I've even shared like repeatedly. Actually, I can share again, where people were contracting COVID-19 and the flu and pneumonia and all these other things from the friggin' jab itself, from his friggin' therapeutic. And so, you knew. Vet. You ain't no fucking expert in anything. Well, I mean, I guess you're an expert at lying. Like these media people are so well trained. They're so well trained. So I'll just show you the process. So this is all information I've had for years that I've shared. And we can go into Pfizer released VAERS, vaccine analysis, print BioNTech. So like, let's go. Let's open this one. And I doubt, I don't know if you can see that. I have to go back. Okay, yeah, so I'll stop sharing that screen and then I'll show the one that I just opened up. What does that date say? Boom. February 2021. And then if I just do a Control F, there's 36 matches. Let's just go through. Okay, so just very specifically, this is in fact the list of the abbreviations. So we can all agree that COVID-19, abbreviated coronavirus disease 2019. Okay, so events reported. All right, and even again with the VAERS that were submitted in February of 2021, they're estimating that it was between 3 and 5% of the actual cases within the population. Okay, so significantly underreported because again, there was monetary incentive for doctors and nurses not to report it or to even like say deaths were with COVID and all that stuff. I already talked about all this stuff in other videos, but VAERS reported 4.6% of people of the VAERS reported were people that contracted COVID-19 through the friggin' jab, guys. I'm going to call it different names. Fluvid-19 and so many other. Oh yeah, and they willfully or knowingly lied to us. I have Patty Hajdu's mug on full display, and I go through all the adverse side effects, especially from like March 2022 with like an alarming amount of friggin' cancers. But they call it like neoplasmas. They call it like so many other friggin' names just to get away with like showing like the full breakdown. And okay, here it is. So this is Alex Jones.
The political prisoner by the
me if I get Russians is overwhelming, and the people who are bleeding that the Russians are losing, that it's a static was going to happen 6 months ago or 5.5 months ago when this special military operation started, which is that Russia is winning. It's definitively winning. It is the victory on the part of the Russians is overwhelming. And the people who are bleeding that the Russians are losing, that it's a static war and whatnot, they simply don't want to see reality.
And that's why I went to prison.
I've taken a beating in my time, so sure, it hurt like hell, but it was manageable. But then at one point, 2 thugs held my head and used a toothpick to scratch the whites of my left eye while asking me if I could still read if I had just one. I got a cracked rib in my first cell, but it wasn't too bad. The worst stretch was in my 4th cell. From 1 p.m. on June the 21st until 7 p.m. the next day, 30 hours, I was beaten and sleep deprived. My arms twisted the wrong way around at the shoulders and generally beaten pretty bad.
And that's why, if I'm arrested again, I will die in prison.
A Chilean-American journalist Gonzalo Lira has reportedly died in prison in Ukraine at the age of 55.
And he's a hero, and he's a guy that was trying to speak out on atrocities and false flags and all that stuff in Ukraine. And even Canada, we've given friggin' definitely like millions and millions of dollars, baby billions, like, and we should be angry about this stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
U.S. journalist cited Lira's father, who believes his son was tortured to death over his criticism of Vladimir Zelensky.
I was very upset
Disgusting.
to learn that Gonzalo Lira
Fucking
was
collect
tortured
all
to death
funds.
as a political prisoner by the government of Ukraine.
Disgusting.
I was able to interview him a few times, so were some of our other crew. He seemed like a interesting journalist on the ground, giving a different perspective of what we were all being force-fed at the time. And of course, we saw the footage of men with machine guns taking him out of his apartment, disappearing him.
Look at that.
Now, over a
Look
year
at-
ago, and we learned that he died in their custody. They would not give him treatment for double pneumonia and just basically tortured him to death. Imagine if the Russians had a journalist and a U.S. citizen and were holding him and they died in custody. It would be international scandal. There'd be major sanctions. But the last year plus, his family and others have gone to the State Department and they just said, we're not doing anything. So they won't stand up for U.S. citizens, even as we send over $100 billion to Ukraine. And now Zelensky tells us he wants U.S. troops there on the ground, which is World War III. This is outrageous and it's disgusting. And while our veterans sleep on the street and while our border totally collapses, we pay billions of dollars to secure much of the Ukrainian border.
We know our future is bound to yours. Let me repeat that again. We know our future is bound to yours.
The goal of the present war against Ukraine is to tear our land.
Like
Our
the thing
people,
that
our
like it
lives,
disgusts me as a woman. Like I don't know if men are just more able to tolerate disgusting stuff like that. But the fact that I know that Joe Biden is a pedophile. Okay, it's confirmed, by the way, and like even his own daughter had in her real, it was a real diary that was really found, and she really admitted this, that even when she was 13 years old, he was showering with her. Okay, so there's incest and pedophilia there, and that's just like a small little example of Biden and his family. And Zelensky, I've shared plenty of footage of him in like assless chaps and these weird friggin' outfits and stuff like that. Also on the list, all right? Maybe not on the Epstein list, but he's anyway. I wish people understood that these are all actors and they're blackmailed and bribed and entitled and egotistical, all right? And bored otherwise, I don't know, but like they're not helping anyone. And there seems to be a trend of the people that are the elected officials or the people that are calling all the shots and what they do on their own time. So this is why I'm saying that, like, yes, it does matter how you are within your personal life. If you are going to be in cabinet or if you're going to be like heads of institutions that we're paying for, the taxpayers are paying for, right? And even like energy companies and stuff like that, we have to start calling them out as well, because yes, the carbon tax is a scam. I'm going on all these tangents, but there are also all these other fake ass charges at the end for delivery and usage and like and other random charges like that. Like, what are these charges? Right? When the actual natural gas, like my usage is $23, why is my bill $133? That's what some people are saying. Or like my bill is $305. Why is my overall bill $550? Or in my case, $500 and then my bill being $750. Like I shared that bill on my social media. And people are just getting away with it. And now they're trying to look at increasing property taxes and insurance taxes. This is all a scam. Okay, this is all a scam. This is all electronic digital taxes, interest rates increases and stuff like that I'm talking about. This is all digital tax increases, and it's actually theft. All right, and our budgets are getting so mismanaged by Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau, and like again, people that are not experts in anything. And They're not being held accountable. They're not going to jail. They're not getting investigated. They're not getting fired. We've been through this before. It's countless cycles throughout the world, existing examples and previous examples, and they're too ignorant and entitled. And and Justin Trudeau, again, like, is he still in Jamaica? Like, this guy has had more trips and vacations and holidays than any other prime minister in recorded history. And then you have myself and people like me that have been targeted, harassed, vilified, censored, lives ruined. If you're going to get real about it, like with work impacted, with my schooling impacted, with, like, because of the lies and deceit and things that are being pushed that are, again, like not helping us. So anyone calling this stuff out has been punished. Even Jeremy McKenzie and Tamara Leach and Helen Bruce and others that I know that I can't even name, kicked out. Okay, in the courts, like battling courts just to try to keep their friggin' livelihoods. Over 20 years of service at risk because of actually telling the truth and sharing information that these fucking people are trying to push down, right? We're degrading. And I'm going to go on these tangents, but like even this girl, Joy Reid, is triggered that Iowa is full of white Christians. Like, this is another woman that is like that works in the American government and complaining on social media. So she has a platform too. Triggered that Iowa is full of white Christians is what she said. So this was my comment back, and I don't care how it sounds. I'm not a racist. I'm not discriminating. I'm saying that, look, if you look at my videos as well, like I'm saying that we're all being lied to about all of our fucking histories, and we're all divine, or could be if we just unlearned what we were lied about. Anyway, I'm like, then move to a country where the majority has your skin color instead of forcing genocide of white people. We are already the minority internationally by far, but you come from the only countries where we live. Why? And then there's other people that are commented too that are obviously pissed off about this. And so like my comment to this was Joy, and that was my comment on her thing. And then I put a description in the below. Anyway, Joy Reid triggered over white Christians. Not even a year after a Christian school was attacked, churches burned to the ground all over the world, and especially Canada and Gaza. South Africa white farmers specifically are getting raped, tortured, and murdered, celebrated and even promoted by their woke government, saying kill the Boer. Reminds me of Canada too, with the March of Freedom, where we had actual people within government, like heads of political parties, like, and Chrystia Freeland and Jagmeet Singh's people literally like holding the signs, like going against parents that were trying to go against the woke narrative and critical race theory in schools. And yeah, so like showing that the government, certain people in the public sector, like the fake jobs with the committees and the panels of people that do fucking nothing. All right, they're too lazy to actually work real jobs. And I don't know. Anyways, then you have the UK, Ireland, Scotland, and Germany. Farmers protesting there as well because the soy boy city and suburbs men are too busy playing video games and watching porn to care about the children, women, and elderly in their communities. See my comment to the video where Joy is disturbed that there are a majority white Christians in Iowa. How do these people get hired? Aren't we supposed to pride ourselves in being multicultural? Except if you're white. People are too afraid to say it out loud, so you are welcome. Interesting how I watch movies and read books, and on island nations or remote locations, the tribes always make the women and children go inside their huts or homes, and all the fighting aged men would form a line or box to protect the village or community. Now we have men breaking into our homes and vehicles and stealing from us. This has nothing to do with skin color. We are being intentionally distracted from what's really important. While people like Joy are causing division from within, more predators are coming to exploit this vulnerability. Ottawa is currently full of a divided people who actively exploit people who have lived here for centuries without destroying it. So like I'm just saying, like they're pushing such a woke agenda in North America, and like such a small percentage of the international population, where like China and India, for like huge examples of people that have over 1 billion people. I think it's significantly less. I think we have half the population of what is being alleged, and that's to incite fear and the Hegelian dialect and make us like, again, like be chronically inflamed and fearful, and making us chronically ill. And but yeah, like more people there than anywhere else in the world, and they're not white skinned people, and they're not Christians. You know what I mean? Like, so people are so fucking uneducated, and like, are people going to there to genocide them? Or take over their fucking government like buildings and their public government jobs? Like, are white people doing that? Are black skinned people doing that? Are indigenous people, like whatever you want to call them, of Canada, are they going there and doing that? First of all, they're not allowed, and second of all, no, they're not, right? Like, and we're not we're not doing that in other places. And why is it specifically now white countries specifically, or where the majority is white, which is only a small amount of fucking countries in the world, actively getting fucking genocided and attacked and vilified and character assassinated, and the history being lied about? Because I will reiterate, white people have been slaves fucking too and still are. Okay, you need to learn your fucking history. Okay, because there was even white, like, accounts of white slaves in North America that predate black slaves, and in Canada as well. So look up that shit, because I've also shared videos on that as well. And Andrew Johnson, the first friggin' like reported on the record slave owner, he was black skinned in North America. And there are still slaves. There's more slaves now in Africa, by the way, that are being sold to other countries that are non-white than ever in the periods of the 15, 16, 17, and 1800s, when people from Europe as well were getting taken as sex slaves and more, because of certain attributes too, right? Okay, so some people came because like they were hard workers. Some people came because they had a certain skin color that was desired, or eye color that was desired, or hair color that was desired. People don't want to fucking talk about that stuff, right? No. It's just frustrating that we're allowing this to happen. Even in the UK and stuff like that, there's someone that's like from India, that's like a leader. And is there a person, like a white Canadian from Canada, like that's the Indian leader or the Chinese leader or the freaking Philippines leader or the Japan leader? No. Okay, so people be crazy. Yes, there are people of my skin color that are causing a lot of fucking damage in the world. I'm not arguing that. I'm calling that shit out too. All right, but every skin color, every shape, size, skin color, whatever you want to call it, there are people, okay, and it's the elite. Like I've said, this is a class war. It's the elitists, the elite, that are causing all the fuckery right now, right? Because like there are now mentally unwell people that are in these positions, right? Anyone that's pushing now the like the ESG and the friggin' CBDC, like all that fucking ethical, critical race theory stuff, like a lot of these people are disordered. I'll just leave it at that. And anyways, on back to this.
Resources into a weapon against you.
$1.85 billion package of security assistance that includes both direct transfers of equipment that Ukraine needs, as well as contracts to supply ammunition
His friends all got
will
rich.
need in the months ahead for its artillery, its tanks, and its rocket launchers.
Mr. President, would you call the situation on the southern border a crisis?
No, but I wouldn't say it would react. I've been pushing them, my Republican colleagues, since I got in office.
Fox News, AP, they're all reporting it. Sweden's defense minister warning to brace for war with Russia, sends public into panic, lines grabbing food, gasoline, emergency supplies. NATO and Sweden have been saying this for weeks. Russia has laughed and said that's insane. We have no intention of invading or attacking Sweden. Obviously, Sweden borders areas close to Russia. They've said that because of NATO's aggressive stance, they may have to beef up troops, but that they know attacking Sweden would lead to nuclear war. They have no intention of doing that, but it doesn't matter. It's all over the news that the Russians, with no evidence, are going to attack Sweden. This is a major escalation. Germany ponders banning its second most popular political party. Banning of parties and candidates happening everywhere in the West now, a classic sign of incredible totalitarianism.
I won't let myself be insulted as being a Nazi because I'm sympathizing with the AfD. For me, the AfD is the only party representing our constitutional rights and freedom of opinion.
The UN has put out new reports saying uncharted territory, doom and total destruction. We don't hand total control over to them. They say starvation and mass death, but they're doing it by cutting off the energy, the fertilizer, the fuel to the tractors that till the fields. You have lived to see it. We are inside the New World Order, BlackRock, Rothschild takeover. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live Sunday, January 14th, 2024. It is 295 days, 7 hours, 53 minutes, 34 seconds from the most important election in world history. Hands down, no one disagrees. It's all on the line. The populist patriot being persecuted by the deep state, toe-to-toe with the New World Order, battling over control of the United States. Will a republic be used for global domination with enslaved populations at home, or will humanity come together now, wake up, and reverse this disaster before it only intensifies? There is no way to hype up how serious and hardcore this is. All right, the Iowa caucuses are beginning. Trump is set to get over 50% of the vote in a super domination that is sending the deep state into fits. We have, in the freezing cold, record numbers of illegals pouring across, breaking any record, total insanity on that front. We have more military action by the U.S. and England in the Middle East against the Houthis. We have so much to cover today. Roger Stone joins us in the last 30 minutes of the next hour with the key data that he's been calling it for 2 years, that Biden is going to step down during the DNC in July, maybe even earlier, and they're going to replace him with Gavin Newsom as the BP. And
he said in July. Sorry, I just got back. I just wanted to refill my coffee. What did I say? If you're new to my channel, a couple of videos ago, I was talking about, because July 20th is the 201st day of the year, and it also makes 6 years, 6 months, and 6 days or whatever of the pandemic being, what was it? Oh no, sorry, of him being inaugurated and being sworn in office. And Ford predicted in the Woodrow Wilson, sorry, the Hoover building, not Ford predicted in the Hoover building that there was going to be a female president that was going to take over from a standing president, and during his tenure, and that would be classified as the first female president. So it might be Kamala Harris, which is also terrifying because she's also not very bright. I don't care if people get insulted by that. Have you heard her talk? Have you heard any of her interviews, even the scripted ones? It's terrible. So that would be interesting because it would be on the 201st day of the year, July 20th. It like lines up with 6 years, 6 months, and 6 days of him being inaugurated. I thought that was all fascinating stuff. And so a lot of these people within these occult groups, they do follow Gematria. 201 is a very big number with them, even with the pandemic exercise 201, training exercise 201 from Johns Hopkins University. That is what set the stage for them to like declare the go for this pandemic. And I've talked about SPIRES as well, 2020, 2025, 2027. Also, like I also shared that there was I don't know if it was Johns Hopkins or Harvard University, but it's all like the friggin' same at the heads of these institutions. They're all like pushing woke stuff because of their funders. Saying that regarding discrimination and stuff like that, like the key points that they like discussing for like critical race theory and this woke agenda is like specifically targeting, like they literally have a list. This one had a list, and it was like males, white people, like Christians, like able-bodied, like all of these different things. And I'm like, you literally are going against like you're causing so much division and literally this hate on people that they're calling able-bodied. And there's even fat cons out now. Like this is all stuff that's very unhealthy. And I've showed as well that the ACE2 inhibitors, like the adipose fat tissue, absolutely impacted your how adverse your reactions are to any virus or illness or injury or disease, right? And so the recommendation should be to lose weight, not gain weight, and that's coming from a loving place. And anyway. And so like we should be promoting health, and like there's like now a lot of people like on the woke bandwagon that are saying that being fit is like a right-wing extremist behavior, which is insane to me, right? Like I've been working out like since I was a friggin' kid regularly, you know, and it has nothing. I'm not like I voted for 3 different political parties in my life, right? And so like I'm on any friggin' side, left, right, the same friggin' bird, you know, that's wounded right now, and but we should be promoting health and fitness and stuff like that, embracing that, and not weakening our society with like this like narrative where like being lazy is okay, right? Because it's causing so many more health and immune issues into our societies, right? And like even like the disordered thinking, like we're causing mental health issues, and we're causing physical health issues and spiritual health issues, right? All of these freaking health issues are being promoted in universities by the heads of the friggin' departments or institutions that are pushing this, saying this is the problem with North America. If you're fit, if you're white, if you're religious, like what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm sorry. Like, tell me you like weird friggin' pegging sex without telling me like weird friggin'. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just going on all these tangents. I'm not going to judge, but like the audacity to say that being fit is a privilege too. Like when I work my ass off, I'm up at 4 a.m. every fucking morning, and I walk my dogs. I don't have to. I'm lucky enough to be able to walk my dogs. I have friends who are double, triple, quadruple amputees of being of service to Canada and Canadians or Americans. Okay. And I walk my ass with my dogs so that they get great exercise. And if you look at my dogs, they're like the fittest dogs you'll ever friggin' see in your life. And I work out and I drive like half an hour now to go to a friggin' gym and or work out in my house in order to stay fit, okay? Because that keeps me healthy and out of a friggin' sick care system. And I'm more stressed out, like again, because like I've had more family members that I love so fucking close to that were hospitalized again. Like this week, like there's someone that like was like a mother to me growing up, and then who I like, I mean, just because of life and because of like living in different ends of the fucking country and like me being all over the place, just lost contact with in later life, which I obviously regret, but still kept in touch with her kids, her sons. And anyways, passed away just a few days ago. That was upsetting, especially the way she went. And then now like close family members like in the hospital. I don't know what's going on with them. And anyway, it's just a fucking disaster, right? And so this is all on the go.
Big Mike as the presidential candidate for the Democrats. We've got a lot of internal sources, but now this last week.
And I think the running joke for Big Mike too, because like maybe I'll back it up a little bit, but people are just saying like, oh, like Michelle Obama is going to be like the first female president possibly. I'm like, yeah, sure. And again, like there's a lot of people that like this is like people are on either side of the fence on this one. I think it's like 50-50 people believe that Big Mike is an actual man or that believe that she's a woman. There's just a lot of compelling evidence to look through, a lot that I've shared on my Rumble account especially, and even with Barack Obama on multiple occasions calling her Michael accidentally. And I've never done that. I've never done that. Right? Like I've never called an ex like a female name accidentally, especially not multiple times. And Joan Rivers, like she like had admitted this like a few months before she passed away. Complications from a surgery that like a cosmetic procedure. Anyway,
Week was in mainstream media that Obama went to visit the White House and read the riot act to Biden before he went off on another one of his vacations. This is going to be insane. Now, let's just stop right there. The Davos Group starts meeting in just a couple days. They've already got their operation going on a mountaintop. So their staff and crew and people are already getting there in Switzerland. But they are the official mouthpiece of the UN, and last year officially merged with the UN at a National Security Council level. They're not on the National Security Council, but the UN Secretary General said, policy will be decided on with them. And remember what Klaus Schwab says, we penetrate half the cabinets. We control half the governments of the world. And what is front and center on their agenda? Number one, they say disease X is imminent and is going to kill 20 times what COVID supposedly did. And then they give a number of 50 million. Now, what is disease X? That's a name for a disease never existed. And if you talk to the virologists, the experts, they say that's not known for hundreds of years. And most of the diseases that they have recently found, they find later in bodies they dig up, existed before. And it's very rare to find a new disease.
I was asked a good question, and I'll just pull it up. It was on, it's on Rumble. I just got it. I don't usually look at my comments from Rumble. Okay, so it's saying, don't you think promoting and feeding this BS disease X is allowing to be distracted? Aren't you feeding that algorithm? I know I'm trying to find that perfect solution, not wanting to promote, or it gets cut off. I think that there's maybe like a restriction or a limit on how much people can write, and so so they just have to break it down. I don't know what the right answer is, to be honest with you. I know that with the pandemic with COVID, by me calling it out and or trying to call it out. I know a lot of people have personally messaged me saying that what I was sharing prevented them from like made them consider not getting it or whatever, and they had family members who passed away, and there were so many different things, right? Like, and we're seeing more examples of that even coming out even more now, and so it's getting promoted and pushed by mainstream media, by elected officials, by health experts and stuff like that, to be afraid of this. All right. And then again, it's pushing more lockdowns, possibly mandates, and again, more push of a forced inoculation or reasons to like further remove and restrict us and take away more of our freedoms and liberties and stuff like that. So I would not feel good with myself if by knowing this information and knowing what the plan is and stuff like that, and at least not trying to like warn people off or share this, like just to consider like, hey, maybe this time around, like, let's not do, you know what I mean? What we did last time and get fucking duped into getting more people getting harmed, right? And so that's just where I'm coming at it from. It's a risk to myself, but like people actually do fucking die from sharing this information because it's a multi-billion trillion-dollar industry, and there's a lot of things I fucking talk about, you know what I mean, where I'm at risk. But it's just one of those things where like I would just rather risk getting this information out, you know, and allowing people to have at least another perspective, because there's just too much of the other side lying to us. We've got too many fucking people that are literally unhinged, and it's unfortunate. Like, and it's hard to even talk with these people. So like, let alone work with them. And I give the example, like I'm in Ottawa, right? Where like 85 or even more people are vaccinated. And since then, for over 2.5 years, they refuse to acknowledge that they might have been incorrect, right? Even though people are dying or they're perpetually sick, or there have been people that have suffered from illnesses, and they're not making the correlation with the vaccine, even though it's a listed side effect or VAERS, and refuse to look at this stuff. And so like, this is like, and these are the people like Neely Keeplin-Murr, where you try to have a conversation with her, and she's apparently a doctor, and she's a head of a friggin' of education, like on a board and committee. And when people try to have conversation with her, she literally screams and freaks out like a fucking toddler. Where I've even showed this, where they even had to cut her mic, and people were trying to have a conversation with her and ask questions, and she's literally with the mask on, screaming in a friggin' mic, where it had to get cut off, like I said. And so how do you have conversations like that with these people? And with Chrystia Freeland, it's the same thing. It's either like la 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 la, or screaming and yelling and not allowing people to have questions or answer, like none of that stuff, and having to have and then arresting people that try to ask questions, and or even like shutting doors on them, like on their freaking faces and their feet and their arms, which to me is assault. So why is she not arrested for that when that's even on the record and on video? Neely Keeplin-Murr doing that. And again, like, she is literally considered to be an expert in Ottawa, an expert in like, and she's literally mentally unwell. It's very clear. Like, I'm not just saying this, like, and then with that RCMP officer or law enforcement, whatever he was, like that again, like targeted David Menzies, like walked right into him and then arrested him for assault. That's also the people within my industry that I work with and around. So again, like, these people are also a lot in Ottawa, fucking assholes, right? And not on the right side of the fucking law. And like, even like the law enforcement people that are going after Helen Bruce, she's still in the court systems, over 20 years as a detective, over 7 years with sexual assault, child abuse cases, literally just sharing the medical, scientific, and government data coming out, showing that the fucking vaccines were causing injury and death in children. And oh my God, at a significantly more alarming rates than had ever before been seen in recorded history. And it's been years she's in the courts. She's at over $100,000 in legal fees now that she can't afford it. She has a family, and she has to get a legal team out flying in from Alberta because she couldn't find a lawyer in Ottawa to represent her. And I can fucking relate to that, because I'm still looking for a lawyer in this fucking province to help me sue the fuck out of certain destruction companies, real estate companies, the fucking government too. All right, and the mayors, district, like, you name it. Like, where's the fucking, like, Marco Menoncino, Kieran Moore, I've sent messages to them, Wayne Eyre, like, I've got I have sent messages with official documentation, giving my resume and stuff like that as well, like, not hiding behind anything. And this is bullshit. So they're gonna force more inoculations on us, where there's possibility of like more fertility issues, more neurological issues, more fucking cancers and autism and allergies and immune issues, and you fucking name it. Then yeah, jail, Fauci jail.
So when you hear disease X, they mean the laboratory-made synthetic viruses gain of function operation.
And in Ottawa, also, they're saying in the mainstream media, all over Ottawa, they're saying that the COVID vaccine saved lives. Saved lives. The mandates were necessary. Lockdowns were necessary. Saved lives. That's literally where we're at here. There's even people that are suing places, even education, like even elementary schools, because of them not like enforcing a mask policy. This is where we're at in Ottawa. So again, I don't know how it is in other places. I'm hoping it's not as fucking bad as Canada, but we're still being lied to and it's still getting pushed. And even like last month or 2 months ago, Justin Trudeau, our fucking prime minister, literally had a t-shirt saying that adults get vaccines. So, like a part-time drama teacher, like what the like, oh my God. So that's why, like, I still have to speak out on this stuff because I'm literally in Canada, like, in Canada's fucking swamp, and everyone around me is still pushing this, and again, they're not informed about anything. They're going off of loose claims from like 2.5 years ago, and they're refusing to look at anything further.
Operations. So now they are in a crescendo with corporate media, the UN, the WEF, Bill Gates, the New World Order saying that the release of a new virus is imminent and is going to happen. Now, they did this just months before they released COVID-19 that was made in a lab, that was 5 viruses combined, that did cause respiratory illnesses if you didn't have enough vitamin D, but they made it synthetic so they could own the vaccine response that they'd already made, and that all came out later. We'll be going over it again tonight. We have experts throughout the week joining us. But the Indians scanned it, others scanned it with their billion-dollar CRISPR machines and said back in February of 2020, this was made in a lab, and the media tried to poo-poo it, but later admitted, no, it was made in a lab, not out of some bat cave.
Oh my God. That's what got my first fucking set of contracts canceled on me at the beginning of February 2020, man. Already fucking started, like, because I was saying it's gain of function. I was saying it was coming out of a lab. I'm like, for sure, Wuhan. I'm like, maybe in America as well. I don't know. But like, for sure, I'm like, here's like fucking like that, like the guy from China that died at 35 years old. Like he, like all the information he was sharing, and people literally were calling me fucking crazy and then started ghosting me. So like that was the start of it. And so I have been financially destroyed by this. I'm not gonna lie. And my academic career, I was my 4th year science degree, sharing the fucking science. Like, oh my God.
Some wet market grocery store where they sell live animals.
Yeah, they literally were like, it's a wet market.
Didn't come from a turtle or a bat or anything, or a porcupine. So they're running the same propaganda they ran, but even more intensely before they released it last time. And Fauci bragged, Trump will soon be challenged by a novel virus. They said, we're going to blow up the old regulatory system of actually testing things. And once this new virus comes out, he said in 2018 and 19, we will use it to then roll out all these new Frankenshots that aren't even classical vaccines, that are DNA reprogramming systems. We pointed that out 4 years ago. That's what it was. They said, no, you're lying. Now I've got newscast with the UN, with the WHO saying, yes, we're now going to change your DNA with these new shots. There'll be no approval. We're just going to make you take it. They have legislation introduced to the Congress for, quote, disease X. So when you hear disease X, that means the gain of function, the manipulation of viruses, splicing different families of viruses together, taking viruses that are only in animals and making them where they can jump into humans, making them where they're more airborne, where they're more communicable. There's been very little corporate media coverage of the hearings the last few years of Fauci admitting all of this is going on, trying to deny its gain of function, but saying, yeah, we soup up viruses. Now, we just put an image on screen from the early 1990s. That's a real video. If you're a TV viewer, it's a mouse with a giant human ear growing on its back, a third the size of its whole body. Now, that was done in the 70s, declassified in 1990. I've covered that mouse story probably 400 times or more, probably 500 times. The reason that's important is, now listen to me carefully. We're about to do the deep dive on disease X. They took humanized mice, the US government, the Chinese government, the Australian government, the British government, this is all admitted, put human genes into them so they respond just like humans. So it's like you're testing on a human. Same effect. And have got a 100% kill rate with the viruses they've cooked up. So when you see Bill Gates laughing and smirking and saying, look, if you didn't like COVID, something a lot worse is coming, he, and you'll stay locked down, you'll behave yourself when the new virus comes. We have Klaus Schwab saying this. We have his daughter, who's on the board of the WEF. We've got her saying it. I've got the receipts, overhead shot. You see these 3 stacks right here? Excuse me, 4 stacks? There's his daughter saying it. I got Klaus Schwab saying it too. Right there in that stack. Look at all these other stacks. And guess who else I have? I have undoubtedly the most popular, loved online doctor in the world. He gets hundreds of millions of views a week. And until now, they weren't censoring him. Now they are. They took this video off YouTube. Dr. John Campbell out of the UK. Very respected. And he basically comes out, well, he didn't come out, he came out and said, clearly they're engineering this. Clearly they're releasing it to take control of society. It's all illegal, it's gain of function. And when you hear disease X, they're talking about diseases that don't exist because they are making them. Ladies and gentlemen, and the WF says, prepare, it's imminent. It's all about to happen right as the UN tries to ram through their treaty. And you're saying, well, this is completely transparent. Well, that's because you're informed. I mean, it's why you searched out this show. You probably were already informed before you found me. You're doing research, you find out about the show. Tune in. You hear all the scientists and experts and doctors we have on. But they are in a frenzy to get this treaty through. And I covered the treaty a bunch last week. We've been covering it. They've been trying to pass it for a year. A bunch of countries are set to ratify their final draft coming out soon. And it just says, all your bodies, all your medical systems, all transportation, your borders, everything under this UN pathogen pandemic treaty is under the UN. So the UN doesn't come to conquer you with soldiers and helmets and tanks. They come with censorship and control and medical tyranny. And the UN is also, Biden signed back onto it, Trump pulled out of it 6 years ago, year or so into office, that the UN is over the borders of the policies under a treaty that was never ratified, but Biden follows it through UNESCO. That's why they call them migrants, because it's the UN Migrant Refugee Resettlement Office. So they're over that too. We're already more and more under UN control. They're transferring what power Congress and the states had to it. This is the de-evolution of the people being in charge. So here's some of the headlines out just in the last few days. WEF plans response against new pandemic, disease X. WEF to discuss thwarting a future disease X pandemic. Disease X could wipe out 20 times more than COVID-19, says expert. What is disease X? The hypothetical pandemic scientists warn could be deadlier than COVID. Disease X could cause the next pandemic, according to the WHO, or Ebola, SARS, or other pathogens, which they're scooping up in labs. New vaccine lab for disease X unveiled in the UK, where they study the very things that'll do this, where they make them. Here's HR 3832 in Congress to fund gain of function, calling it defense research. It's bioweapon research, making completely new things that would never appear naturally, that are 5 different viruses from around the world. In the case of COVID, and then they tell you, oh, we're going to save your life by taking over everything you do. Remember what Bill Gates said on TV famously? Only the people who have all the vaccines, which is just something they put in your body, not just a classical vaccine, will be able to move freely. And China has unveiled its mobile crematoriums ahead of disease X, and they're hyping, oh, disease X is imminent. I'm going to get to Dr. John Campbell here in just a moment, but let's continue with these headlines. Big story up on Infowars.com, linked directly to respected polling institution Rasmussen.
So I think that they're going to continue to call the vaccine injuries that are still being incurred disease X, just like I've been saying for literally the last 3 years now. And I just wanted to share 2022, so 2 years ago now, what I submitted to all levels of government, multiple different mainstream media outlets, independent journalists, elected officials, leaders of all sorts. And so this is from Pfizer. And again, very underreported from the lock date was 16 March 2022. And so look at this. Look what I searched. And again, there's also multiple different names for this, like neoplasmas, like so many things, but I'll just stick with this. And look, over 2 years, they knew this. Look at this. And not insignificant. And this is stuff that I've shared. Broken down, bone, and then even with breast cancer, you know what I mean? Like there's the impossibility of possibly breastfeeding your children, also important. Brain cancers, colon, colorectal, rectal, endometrial, okay, fertility for women, gastric, lip oral cavity, throat, tumor hemorrhages, tonsil, fucking ovarian, prostate, lung, and people having lung issues now, pulmonary issues, all and those are adverse effects too that have also been reported since February of 2021 on the record that I've shared to all levels of government. In the ombudsman, I was thyroid, and then there's melanoma. Anyway, and then there's so yeah, they don't care. They don't care. And that's why we need to do what we need to do to stay healthy in our own lives. Because all therapeutics and injuries, it's host dependent. So yourself, your condition, your state, and then the what it is you're getting, right? It's ingredient and or mechanism and host dependent.
American COVID vaccines linked to unexplained deaths.
Yeah.
53%.
Oh, and by the way, and also a large majority of the people that contracted COVID-19 through the therapeutic, if you read through February 2021, through that friggin' insert as well, it also says that there was fatalities. Even just with that, right? There's also a number of other fatalities that were incurred. And again, obviously when you have these cancers, a lot of these cancers are terminal or it takes time. And then the myocarditis, the tachycardia, the pericarditis, it was all known. And the way you can tell that it's vaccine-induced for myocarditis and pericarditis is it's called giant cell myocarditis. And that's the only way you get it is vaccine, right? That's not a natural way to get it. And so, anyway.
Strongly believe it. It was 47% just a few months ago. And of course, an alarming 24% surveyed also said they know someone who's died from the vaccine. Well, we know there's at least 17 million dead from global death actuaries, and we know that it's the highest death rate ever recorded in the last 100 years. And we know it all came the year after COVID even came out. It wasn't COVID, it was the shots, but then they blame it on COVID. All right, so this stack right here, there's no way I can play all these videos, is a newscast. Is this giant stack right here. Each one of these is a video. So I just have the headline and it can mention what's in the video. And I've put out on my X account, Real Alex Jones, 7 or 8 of these today. But there's 20 of them, so I'm not going to flood the zone that down. But I'm going to show you the headlines so you can look these up. They're all over every news channel you can imagine. This is just a snapshot saying we're all going to die. Viruses that kill 100% of the people that come in contact with it are about to come out of the jungle because of global warming, climate change. It's your fault. Do whatever the UN says. Put in your body whatever they say, or you're all dead. Some of these newscasts say 100% of us are dead, which we know is not true. But you wonder how they're going to take over. It's viruses, and the UN said decades ago. It's a film in-game made in 2007. But the main way they take over society would be through novel viruses. What's novel? New. Not mutated, new. And as long as they can position themselves and cast themselves as the heroes, as the saviors, as the gods, as long as they can do that, we will then accept that they're the boss, do whatever they say, and let them come into control of our bodies and everything else. But we're not going to do that. So let's do this. Let's play the short 1-minute clip of Dr. John Campbell, just where he talks about, and then I'll show you the news articles, the humanized mice that they've spliced with human genes so they respond 100% like humans. They can even grow any body part they want. They can have a mouse with a human face.
I know
They can have
about
a mouse
this.
with an ear growing off the side. There's one on screen. That's decades and decades ago. It's way more advanced than that. And they can do whatever they want. So I want to play this short clip first, then we'll play the longer clip of the doctor talking about exactly what is going to happen. And then I'm going to play the full 6-minute clip. And then I put out on my Real Alex Jones X account the whole hour-long censored show that YouTube took down. And the reason they took it down is this guy's so respected. He has videos with 50 million views. Most of his videos get 5 million views. He does them every day. This guy's talking to more people than the top Fox News host at this time, and they don't like that. They don't want that.
Excuse
so
me,
here's
sorry.
the shorter clip on Disease X.
Now, last week there was.
Oh, and Dr. John Campbell is fully vaccinated, and for the first year at least, he was really friggin' pushing the therapeutic, and thinking he was on the right side, and then realized and was able to wake up, or whatever you want to call it, with people like me sharing a lot of information with him, changed his opinion based on science and looking at updated information.
Published some really concerning research from.
And that's the people like nowadays that are the biggest survivalists. So the people that can unlearn things that they've learned, even if they fully feel, you know what I mean, like that they are official, like 100% correct, being able to like look at other or alternate information with an unbiased lens, and then actually learn and then change your freaking perspective or your trajectory. Like that is a sign of genius. And so like I a lot of people hate Dr. John Campbell and feel like it was because of him, because he was so well respected in his field, that a lot of people, like even in my family, like they followed him for a very long time and respected him, and they got vaccinated honestly because of him and what he was sharing, which is unfortunate, but he was coming from like a good place. And he has since changed his tune and literally since then has shared a lot of useful information and stats and analytics about the excessive deaths and the debunked original trials and so many more things.
China. What the researchers did was they got a virus from a pangolin. That's these charming little creatures that are so abused throughout Eastern Asia, particularly. They took a virus from the pangolin and they cultured it in cells in the laboratory. And they then infected mice with it. And it killed all of the mice that had infected through brain infection. So they've generated this new virus that kills 100% of mice it's infected with, but it gets worse. Because the mice that were infected were humanized mice. Now, these are called transgenic mice. In other words, they were given some human genes.
Yep.
And they were given human ACE receptor genes that were expressed by the mouse. So these are essentially human ACE receptors in genes. And it was a coronavirus from the pangolin, and it killed 100% of the mice that were infected. And these are the things that they are jiggling around with in laboratories. This is absolute madness.
It's ridiculous.
And it needs to be banned yesterday, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, we got a full, long 7-minute clip I'm going to play next.
It's a weird people that pick their nose and eat it, like Fauci, like on the record. So like imagine what he does in his own
the videos I'm talking about. The WEF plans to discuss how disease X will kill 20 times more deadly than COVID. And oh, look, there's already a vaccine facility for disease X. What amazing predictive abilities. And here is the BBC video.
The British government has unveiled a new vaccine research facility where scientists are working to prevent future pandemics. It's located at Porton Down, a high-security research facility best known for its work on chemical warfare. Experts are preparing for what is known as Disease X, or the next pandemic virus. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes was given rare access to the facility.
The delicate task of protecting the nation's health. This is one of the laboratories at Porton Down where scientists are analysing current threats, new variants of COVID, for example, and trying to identify new ones.
All right, let's stop right there. So COVID was a gain of function, and it wasn't even that deadly. But it caused an autoimmune response that would scare you where you felt like you couldn't breathe. They all knew what was coming, they knew what to do. It was the shots we now know that killed 99% of people. But again, they need to have the cover for their bioweapon labs that are making all this. They say, oh, we're doing all this to protect you from the new viruses that come from the jungle. But you don't have 5 viruses from around the world in the jungle or in a cave mixing together and doing this. And that's what all the experts say. It's a known fact. So they're just getting you ready for this. And again, because they've already got all the, quote, vaccines, the mRNA, DNA editing systems ready on the shelf, just like last time. I mean, I have dozens of these reports. Here's another newscast.
How are they not fired yet?
50 million are going to be dead.
News across the globe in terms of health. In fact, the World Health Organization has named the next potential pandemic as Disease X. But that's not all. Disease X could be on its way. British healthcare professionals are gearing up for Disease X, which they say may be deadlier than COVID-19 and may have a similar impact as the Spanish flu. The WHO says Disease X could be a new agent, a virus or a bacterium or fungus without any known treatments. A report in the UK, beg your pardon, Daily Mail quotes an expert, Kate Bingham, who has issued a warning claiming that the pandemic caused by the disease X could claim at least 50 million lives. She also mentioned that the virus has the potential to result in 20 times more fatalities than COVID-19. Scientists from the UK are putting their effort into developing a vaccine for this potentially deadly pathogen. After the potential threat from disease X, WHO has now considered outlining a research and development blueprint that can focus on the diseases and the pathogens which needs to be prioritized for research, of course, in the context of public health emergencies.
So there are tens of thousands of different viruses, hundreds of families of them. But they're making a vaccine for disease X that's the main topic of the globalist UN mouthpiece, the Davos group. It starts meeting in just 3 days. And it's already operating. Well, tomorrow. People there in their press conferences, putting out what the agenda is. And don't worry, the answer for a disease they don't even know what it is, because they're not behind it ever, no. Not out of the Wuhan lab or anything. Not out of the University of Texas Galveston, not out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, which is where it came out in documents. They made this thing under Obama and shipped to China for plausible deniability and release when they needed it against Trump, the American people, to get us to go along, they thought, with their tyranny. So they don't know what the virus is. You heard her, but don't worry, they're working on a vaccine for it right now. You have to get the exact gene sequence, the exact RNA sequence for even a flu virus for it to have any effect in
War
work.
criminal.
And of course, they've never gotten the gene sequencing right for a flu virus. It does nothing except lower your immunity to the next infection. Look that up. Look up, just search. Multiple flu vaccines lower your immunity to future flu.
Yep.
Each shot by up to 50%.
Not that high. Like Alex Jones, I sort of embellished too, but I've shared this for years as well. The white blood cells not properly regenerating after inoculation, and by design. But like when you continue to do it and get your immunity weakened, and your white blood cells are not developing, then like that's where like you need them to fight off like diseases and stuff like that. And so like it just turns out that these vaccines also weakened immunity by virtue of the fact that white blood cells were not able to regenerate. and the more, and it was like, it would further increase like the more inoculations you got as well. And yeah. Oh, allegedly, since I'm on YouTube and X, allegedly.
So that's all the facts, folks. But don't worry, they know what's coming. They know what's about to happen. And they've set it up where they're the savior and take all your rights and take over your body and set up world IDs and controls. And if the majority of people wake up and say no to this, they'll have trouble implementing it. But even if close to have to, they'll have their target population, and then they give them these shots, which are unlike previous vaccines that actually manufacture whatever it is they're supposedly targeting in the body, and then they cause massive shedding. And I'm going to explain some of that coming up. You've heard Bill Gates says he can put vaccines in food now. Well, all they do is inject it into the food, whether it's the cow or the lettuce, it could be plants, animals, and then it lives in them indefinitely, and then when you eat it, you get it and are, quote, inoculated. Yeah, as the standard of our living goes down, as our life expectancy goes down, as we have record deaths, and everybody who's got half a brain knows it, but they are getting ready because the economy's about to implode. They're bringing in their world currency. They need to pose as the saviors during this positioning. When they're getting rid of the old system, bringing in the new system. The decision has been made to cut off the resources and depopulate the planet, and they have to position themselves as the saviors for the pathogens they're going to release.
Not healthy.
But they won't be the open air pathogen.
On the list.
That's the trigger, the detonator to get you to take the shots.
Yeah, Bill Gates is a pedophile.
And then your body becomes an incubator for whatever
Okay,
bioweapon
I'll
they
say it, it's
inject
true.
into the idiots that take them. All right, so you're living in an incredible time.
And even his
am I.
now ex-wife
We're living in a
alluded to
time
it.
with powerful
As to the reason why
central
she
banks,
divorced
mega
him.
corporations, and defense establishments have incredibly fabulous technologies that humans have developed. They want this life extension for themselves. They want
And Justin Trudeau and Sophie Trudeau on the list. On the list. So I just wanted to get into the Claydex more. See if he's done.
They're going to use viruses and fear to bring in world government and depopulation. They think you're so stupid you won't look around and see that as soon as the shots begin, mass death begins. And I'm going to say something else.
5G too.
Dr.
Wi-Fi.
Campbell is highly respected around the world. And people start saying, well, you know, he's been in the establishment before. Why do we care about Dr. John Campbell? Well, about a year into the whole COVID scam, he woke up and said it was all a fraud. And now he's being censored. So we have to be ready to win. We have to be ready for people in this fight to join us to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to do that. We can't just sit here and be purists and say, well, this person didn't used to be on our side.
I like that. Yep.
And so why is
No,
he
we
coming
agree.
out now? He has a giant following. He's one of the biggest doctors in the world.
Yeah.
Be glad he's telling the truth. Plus,
Yeah,
I know
I'm
all
so
this stuff
happy that he
forwards and
finally
backwards. I know
woke
he's
up.
telling the truth. You listen to what he's saying now.
Yeah.
I was saying it 4 years ago when this crap started. And I warned
too.
you before it happened, it was coming with the lockdowns and the masks.
But he's on
and
our
the
side
fear,
now.
And it would be the vaccine that erased your immune system because it was in global documents that they were planning this in the Rockefeller Foundation and other areas. Let's go ahead and go to this report.
And by our side, I mean he's on the side of humanity. Like he's pro-humanity.
Now, I want to talk now about disease X, which is on this website here. This is the World Economic Forum site, as far as I can
I shared that.
derive. Disease X, this is how we should prepare for the next big virus. Wow. So this, you can listen to it here or you can read it there. It's all very easy to understand while being rather difficult to understand. Now, disease X, I've been teaching this sort of thing pretty well full time since 1990. I know I've been a clinical nurse since 1975
years.
when I was a
34
first
years.
year student. And I'd never heard of this disease X. So I looked at some of my books because when I wrote my book, I couldn't remember putting it in. So it wasn't in there, but I could easily miss it, couldn't I? So I did check in Rubens' Pathology. These are the definitive texts.
Sorry.
Didn't see it in there either. So I checked in Guyton and Hall's superb physiology book. Not in there either. Hoff's Pathophysiology. Not in there either. It's
Yeah, he's a genius.
You think it could be in there.
He's probably relevant to both of us.
You get the idea. Not in that one. You can hardly pick this one up. Pathophysiology. All these standard textbooks. Not in there. So it must be a new disease. Can't say I like the sound of a new disease. We've had a new disease already, haven't we? Anyway, this is just, I want to give you some highlights from the Radio Davos talk. Disease X is looming.
I like how worried
the
he
world
is.
needs to be better prepared to tackle a future pandemic. And you'll see here that the text is from the World Economic Forum site. They go on to say, by mapping viruses with the potential to become the next disease X, the global health community and governments, governments can be more responsive the next time a pandemic looms. Looks like they're anticipating another pandemic here. Global collaboration and adequate funding are needed to improve pandemic preparedness and ensure fast action to keep a viral outbreak at bay. It says you can get a long way being able to produce something. I'm not quite sure what's being produced, but you can produce something or other that will target a novel virus before that virus even emerges. I assume here they're referring to repurposed drugs, which could be rolled out very quickly and very cheaply, and may be efficacious against a range of conditions. Maybe that's what they mean. But anyway, they're going to produce something. Can't read too much into that. All they say is something. Could even mean a vaccine. I don't know, whatever they mean there. Anyway, that will target a novel virus before that virus even emerges. It's a virus we don't know yet, but we do know it's out there. Do we? But we do know it's out there. Now, unfortunately, much to my annoyance and your annoyance, I felt compelled to delete yesterday's video. My apologies. The trick is to live to fight another day. That's what we aim for. But the video I was doing yesterday was examining a particular virus that was experimentally used to infect mice, caused a disease of the brain. And at the end of the study, none of the mice at the end of the study were alive anymore. None of them were alive anymore because a certain event had happened to them that made them not alive. And that virus, my understanding from reading of the paper, was it evolved in cell cultures in a laboratory. So as a result of going through cell cultures in a laboratory, the function of the virus had been increased. It would appear it became a more functional virus. There was a function, and there was potentially maybe even a gain. Anyway, but we know it's out there. So they know it's out there. Obviously, they don't know a precise geographical location, but they know it's out there. And we know it has the potential to spill over from animal populations potentially into humans. Well, yeah, there can be natural spillover events, of course. There can also be other origins of viruses. Perhaps mutate or adapt itself and then begin spreading and killing people faster than we can contain it. Carrying out research and vaccine development. Carrying out research and vaccine development for known viral families could impact humans, of which there are 25 viral families, they're saying, would give humanity a decided advantage over the next disease X. So who knows, maybe the World Economic Forum will be good enough to develop a vaccine for us great unwashed, so it's all ready for us. I'll leave it with you. Read the article for yourself. It's all there. All there. Yep. From Radio Davos.
So antivirals work fine. Ivermectin,
Quite
hydrochloroquine.
concerning, really. A
Would have worked.
disease X.
Vitamin D for sure. I've talked about this for literally over 5 years.
It's coming.
Well over that, like on social media. Well over that. 10 years
Let's
maybe.
hope they don't know too much more than us. We'll leave it there. Thank you for watching.
I've even said that in my humble opinion,
So
vitamin
the
D
UN
is
and Bill Gates and Klaus
should be
Schwab,
considered a
all of them said
hormone.
there's too many of us. They want to lock us down in our houses. They want to control our lives. I played Yuval Noah Harari last week out of the WF saying, oh, the virus was good. It taught us to live at home and be locked down, which then causes the collapse of civilization, which they want, a post-industrial world. I mean, this is all 2 + 2 = 4 crap. And that's why I get angry, because I have 4 children. I have a family. I have parents. I have a wife. I have cousins. But I also care about everybody else.
Yeah.
And they created the virus. They released it. They gave us a poison shot that erases our immune system. They got illegal gain of function, splicing viruses and souping them up, going up everywhere. Fauci put on symposiums
Torturing
in the
animals.
last 5-6 years saying, oh, in support of gain of function, and we're going to create gain of function, and we're going to create all the viruses that an enemy could hit us with. That's unlimited. And we're going to have them on the shelf ready to give you a shot. And we're going to lie to you and say it protects you. We're going to block therapeutics. And we're going to, when people get regular colds or flu, we're not going to give them medical care and close the clinics and close the hospitals and say, come back when you're really sick. And the first year, 2000, that was the little bump in deaths, was refusing medical care. And then they give you the shot and turbo cancers explode and heart attacks.
Ugh.
And it's
Peter
these
Hotez
freaks,
and
these
Fauci deserve
psychos
jail.
who kill us and
And look, you're not
poison us
healthy.
while they pose as our
And Peter Hotez, first of all, I mean, you can tell just by looking at him, but he even admitted it when he was on Joe Rogan's show that he doesn't eat well, that he eats like shit. He eats junk food and stuff like that, and then he doesn't work out. And you're going to talk to us about health? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No. I have sports nutrition, fitness nutrition qualifications, master health and wellness, personal training qualifications, physique coach, all these freaking, and I literally got this to augment my career and my job, right? Because it's like when I do like work out, like outside the friggin' home, like when I'm not doing videos and stuff like that, especially with executive protection and stuff now, it's very physically demanding. When I was an infantry officer, it's the most physically demanding job you can have in the entire world. And that includes on the rigs and stuff like that as well. It's the hardest, and so I did that for 15 years, and then incorporated, advanced driving instructor, shooting instructor, coach as well, and stuff like that. And so I need to know about health and wellness and stress management. And I even teach, and I have course packages built for critical incident stress management as well for people that go onto scenes, especially like the heads of organizations and institutions, and how to manage that piece. And amongst other courses that I teach. And where's it going with this? Anyways, onward.
Saviors and get filthy rich. It's a live Sunday emergency broadcast. The WFUN is telling us to brace for imminent disease X. Right as we have a contested election, right as populists are winning elections all over the world, and right as they're trying to ram through their big treaty to bring in world government. Total control for themselves. They obviously have the motive. Then they have the history of gain of function. They have the history of blocking therapeutics. They have the history of censoring and surveilling everybody. They're caught. There's not a jury in the world that was shown real evidence that wouldn't put them all in prison for the rest of their lives. And we've seen Senator Paul say, we've got your documents. He shows them in the Senate where you funded gain of function and called it that, and that is a felony, life in prison. That's ridiculous, Senator. I've never done that in my life. But now behind closed doors in testimony last week, they reported that he said, I didn't know 100+ times. He didn't take the fifth. That makes him look guilty. No, the fifth is because you could be being set up. But in his case, we have him every time. I don't remember that.
He's a liar.
You remember 2018 and 19 saying masks don't work and authoring a study saying they cause bacterial pneumonia and are way worse. I don't
And microplastics
remember that.
deep in the lungs.
You remember on this date, that date, saying masks totally work, everybody should wear them. I don't remember that. They released the transcript Thursday.
And then the testing, the
Over 100
PCR
times.
tests
I
too
don't
faulty.
remember
And the rapid
that.
tests. He's such a liar.
And it's funny to him. It's cutesy. Because he's a scientist and you're not a scientist.
Yeah.
And so he owns your.
He's a scientist. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a scientist. Bill Nye, the science guy, apparently a scientist. Professor Dave, apparently a scientist. Like, they're fucking liars. You know who's a scientist? Me. And I'm cuter than them.
Body. And so you're going to do what Dr. Fauci says. So I sit here battling every instinct I've got. In fact, I meant to have the crew print this, and I forgot to tell them because I said on X today I'd do it. But they can do it right now. Just type in food as a vaccine delivery system. It's BBC, AP, Reuters, Scientific American. Going back 30 years, there's probably 100,000 articles. Just click web. We'll get even more than news because news is current. Bill Gates invests in vaccines that are delivered through food. These aren't vaccines where you give somebody an attenuated virus for the current virus. And it's damage it can't replicate, but your body learns how to see it as an outside group and creates antibodies. That's a real technology and works some of the time, but has side effects. But to inject your body so it creates a spike protein very similar to what causes spongiform encephalopathy or mad cow disease, and then your body admittedly sheds it all over everybody, that's not a vaccine. That's turning people into engines of shedding. Yeah, they found articles instantly. Anybody can do it. Edible vaccines, National Library of Medicine. In recent years, it says this become the new big trend. What is gene-edited food? Does it say eat? Can we go back to the last thing?
And I've showed patents too for like spray dispersal systems within aircrafts, within the Canadian Army, Canadian military, the Air Force, if you want to be specific, and even in the U.S. patents that are over a decade old and stuff like that for, like I said, dispersion, chemical dispersions.
Please. In recent years, edible vaccines emerged as a new concept developed by biotechnologists. Edible vaccines that transmit the vaccines where the selected genes are introduced into the plants and the transgenetics of the plants then induce the manufacture of encoded protein. Corn, soybean, rice, legumes, they're easy to administer. They can do it to cows, pigs, chicken, anything. Print me just 10 articles on it. Edible vaccines. The UN studies edible vaccines. You know what else they study? Sterilization vaccines. Plants as mRNA factories for edible vaccines. University of California, Riverside, researchers. They're studying whether they can turn edible plants into
mosquitoes.
Lettuce. Like lettuce
Mosquito
into
factories
mRNA
in
vaccine
North America.
factories. They've already done it. So that's what they're doing. So they don't even care if 3% take the new COVID 9th booster or whatever it is. Because those people then go out like bombs. And by the way, DARPA funded all this. And Moderna and Pfizer admit, yes, our mRNA vaccine shed indefinitely. And now we're 3 years into this, and people are still shedding. It never goes away. It's not like a regular viral infection you get, you beat it, it's gone. No, it just replicates as a crystal and gets to your body forever. You're being colonized. You're being murdered. Grow up and eat your own vaccines. University of California. You eat lettuce, you eat a tomato, you eat a banana, they've already engineered with hepatitis vaccines, you name it. But it goes beyond that. Pharmacological plants, look that up. Biomedical pharmacological plants, where they can inject a papaya or genetically engineer, they can also inject it. This stuff's so strong. And then the papaya, because it's engineered its genetics, will produce ounces of whatever so-called vaccine you want. That's the pathogen. Here.
Oh, since they're talking about that, you're not going to like this. Where is it? So I just did a search for herpes. Other AESIs. So they're not calling them VAERS, they're calling them of significant interest, adverse events of significant interest. Herpes, number of cases, 8,152, 19.4% of the total PM data set, of which 4,977 were medically confirmed and 3,175 non-medically confirmed. So you don't need to medically confirm it. You can see it too, by the way, I think. I don't know. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, yeah, and that's this is the one from February 2021. So this is 3 years ago now, and I was sharing this with all levels of our fucking government. And herpes is permanent. It can cause fertility issues, so many different things. And yeah, the vaccine, also a high likelihood of contracting it through that. So I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so I will put in the 2022 one now. Oh, God. Oh. I gotta spell it right. It's there too. Obviously, it would be there. It was in 2021, so okay, you can see it good. So you saw me misspell it. I don't care. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like genital herpes. Like look at this fucking fudging herpes zoster. So many friggin' cases. Meningitis herpes. Nasal herpes. What? Oh my God, just so many friggin' cases of even with the of oral. Oh my God. Like you probably could have lived without that. I'm not gonna lie, but like this is what I mean. Like we have to share this friggin' information, even though it's fucking gross. But even that, like, oh my God. Traumatized. Oh my God.
Here it is. Food is a vaccine delivery system, BBC.
Oh yeah. Okay. So to be clear, so like, I mean, if your significant other, so this is very important, I guess, and this isn't a friggin' way. This isn't an out, men and women. This is not a way to friggin' excuse cheating. Do not cheat. But so again, if you're married and you actually end up with a friggin' like a herpes, whatever you want to call it, and because you got vaccinated, like you can literally like share this friggin' video or look up the like the Pfizer print. I've shared this like repeatedly on as a reference, and you can look for yourself. Just get a VPN and just be like, look, okay, like if you didn't cheat legitimately and you got herpes, just be like, look, it's a friggin' vaccine injury. It's a vaccine injury. Instead of like ruining everyone's life. Oh my God. This is what I mean. They could like potentially ruin fucking marriages and relationships because of this. Like you got to think about this stuff. You got to think about this stuff. Because of course, if I was a wife, you know what I mean? And like my husband had friggin' herpes, I'd be like, let's explain. You need to explain this. You know what I mean? You need to, if, like chlamydia or syphilis, like you need to explain this. Like,
Red shot, please. Again, I don't tell, you know, I was posting on XA about this. People are like, let us see your proof. Well, I'm showing you the proof. COVID mRNA make us superhuman. Oh yeah. They sure make you superhuman like you're dead. All right. I'm gonna stop being so mad. But I am very close to just for my own mental health, taking off a week or something. Because, man, I really care about everybody, and I'm really pissed about this. And I'm really pissed about the 17+ million dead. And that now they're foaming at the mouth to be our saviors, and they say it's imminent, new stuff's coming to kill us. And I mean, you understand whether you're a school teacher or an auto mechanic or a farmer or some godlike government bureaucrat, you are 100% on the chopping block. And this is real. This isn't my opinion. It's not a game. The value of bringing biomedical and plant scientists together, both human disease and agricultural biotechnology. Through the cows and chickens and watermelons we eat, we're going to engineer your body to be healthy and better. Yeah, it changes your DNA. Yeah, when we did gene therapies for 40 years, it usually killed a large percentage of people. But now we're just not doing any testing and rolling it out on you. Anybody doesn't like it, well, doesn't like Fauci, huh? That's what's so crazy. I mean, this is on record going down.
Yeah, and it really,
They got
like the
people-
whole like scientific research, like utilizing animals, like torturing animals and stuff like that, or like that friggin' rat and mouse and stuff like that stuff is horrific, and it is not necessary. It's not needed. It's not the way forward for us or for them. And it just it breaks my friggin' heart. Like it breaks my friggin' heart seeing this stuff. And maybe I am more empathetic than a lot of people. I don't know. Like I've said before, like my grandmother, she was very religious but also like of service. Like she worked in a nursing home her entire life, like decades, and like took care of people and treated them like human beings. And that's what I saw, right? And so like I would even go for walks with someone. Her name was Isa Squires. She like experienced both world wars. She came from Scotland, and she immigrated to Canada, and she was a nurse and stuff like that. And like even when like on her way here, like they thought they were gonna die like by a torpedo, like and so like multiple times and stuff like that. Like she had crazy stories about like walking with bears, and like I had stories about walking with bears too because of where I lived. But she was like 96, and I would go for walks with her and do like aerobics, and I would do her makeup. And and I thought at the time it was great, but it was like terrible. Like it would be like red lipstick and like friggin' like really, really blue eyeshadow and like a lot of hairspray, and I would curl her hair, and like I thought it looked good, but like apparently they all lied to me. It did not look good. Oh yeah, like the white powder, like it was like so much friggin' white powder on her friggin' face. And I would put like moisturizer on, and it wouldn't absorb properly. Anyway, like it is what it is. But and like minimal invasive treatments and stuff like that, and medications, and like and promoting like a routine and healthy meals, like home cooked meals and stuff like that. And anyway, I guess it's like, and it shouldn't, that shouldn't have been like different times, right? And that's just the way it should be, respecting like the elderly and stuff like that. And like with what went on with the long-term care facilities here in the nursing homes, and like the stories that were coming out about how the elderly were treated, and with how they were being like force inoculated and like literally euthanized. And like look at April 2021. It should haunt people in this area, and we need to know about it, especially the Ottawa area, Montreal area. Like locked in their rooms, like doorknobs removed, like not able to go for fucking walks. Like they're at the end of their fucking lives. They've been of service to you their entire lives, taxpayers and stuff like that, or like working within the community, like either military or medics or doctors or nurses or lawyers or law enforcement or paramedics or teachers, whatever. And we just left them to fucking die, man. And anyway, like, and there's just like sick people like Harari and shit like that, and Bill Gates that are just so disgusting. And atheist communists, man, that has killed more people in the world and caused like the most amount of suffering and harm than anyone else, than any other group throughout history. I'm going on tangents, but it's true.
And learned helplessness. They got them mind control. They got them where they just can't believe they're faced with something really bad. Fauci ran the whole HIV thing. All right, folks, I'm going to start the next hour. I've talked about Disease X. I'll get to it more tomorrow.
Okay.
I got a whole other hour coming up.
Okay, so that was good. Yeah, so Disease X. Yeah, it's talked about. Johns Hopkins University, as soon as they announce stuff like that, and WEF and World Health Organizations, you know that it's possibly something that's going to be pushed on us shortly thereafter. And so, oh my God, like, is it going to be something that's going to be released? I don't know. Is it going to be something where they're trying to manifest it, like they did with COVID, like placebo effect, where like you literally manifest yourself into thinking you're sick when you're not? I don't know. host and ingredient dependent is how we respond to anything in life. And managing stress as well, like being chronically inflamed is really not healthy for you either, and causes a lot of issues and decline. So meditating, working out, going for walks, filtering your water, trying to eat as organic as you can, and integrating yourself into your community in a meaningful way, and trying to be of service in any way you can. So if you're going through hard times right now and like you're going through rough shit, like a lot of people are, I know, just trying to reach out to people and just like send positive vibes or positive messages or compliment people, you know what I mean, or tell people like that you value them, like whatever. Like these are also ways of like making them feel good and special and acknowledging them, and that also helps you as well. Like I talk about the universal mind, the thinking mind. That's another thing too that I disagree with so many different people like Santos Bonacci and Ken Wheeler. They're geniuses, by the way. I'm not taking away from that. They're brilliant, but they talk about the trinity of the of energy in this cosmos, and it's so incorrect. It's it's one energy or one force that's creating this multidimensional cosmos, but it's experiencing itself via two different energies, right? It's a dualistic experience. And it's electricity and magnetism. So they talk about dielectricity a lot. I've tried to like discuss it as well, like, you know, because I get it. It's like the absence of magnetism or whatever you want to call it. But even if there was a trinity, right? Like in my opinion, it would be electricity, magnetism, and the ether, right? The atmosphere, the environment, and the water molecules within it more specifically, and how it interacts with electricity and magnetism. So I can see that as being the trinity, because it's those ultimately together is what creates this cosmos and how we experience and perceive it. But it's all one force or one energy that's experiencing itself in the positive and the negative, the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, heating, cooling, expanding, contracting, integrating, disintegrating, centripetal, centrifugal. So on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful hump day.